The signs that reveal whether a person is a true INFJ go beyond mere traits. They are etched into how they perceive, feel, and move through life. Let's take a look at some of these signs. The first sign of a true INFJ is that a true INFJ experiences life with extraordinary depth. You don't just live on the surface. You dive into the unseen meanings beneath everything. Every word, glance, or silence carries weight. You sense the emotional temperature of a room before anyone speaks. You can feel when something is off with a friend, even when they insist they're fine. It's not a matter of guessing. It's intuition. That quiet, powerful knowing that comes from your dominant function. Introverted intuition, which constantly gathers patterns and connects unseen dots. This is why INFJs are often seen as psychic. You simply know things without being told, and later, people realize you were right all along. The second sign is that you often feel like an old soul in a noisy world. While others chase attention and validation, you crave purpose and meaning. You can't settle for a shallow existence. Jobs that don't align with your values drain you quickly. Conversations without depth bore you. Relationships without emotional authenticity suffocate you. You are wired to seek what is real, raw, and transformative. Even in your solitude, your mind and heart are constantly working, reflecting on human nature, your own journey, and the invisible threads that connect everything. The third sign is that your empathy runs deep, but it's not just sensitivity, it's perception. You can step into someone else's emotional world and feel what they feel. You read faces, tones, and energy patterns effortlessly. But because of this, you are easily overwhelmed. Crowded places, constant noise, or too much emotional exposure can drain you completely. You often need to retreat into solitude, not because you dislike people, but because you absorb too much of them. Alone time is your way of detoxing from emotional overload, recalibrating your energy, and returning to your grounded self. The fourth sign is that you often walk through life feeling misunderstood. You can articulate others' emotions so well, yet struggle to explain your own. When you try, people either misread you or think you're overthinking. You're not. You just see multiple layers of meaning where others see one. This sense of being different starts early. You may have felt disconnected from peers, wondering why you think so deeply while others seem content skimming through life. Even now, you may feel invisible in a crowd, yet ironically, when you do speak, your words carry weight. People remember what you say because it often feels profound or oddly accurate. You speak from a place of inner knowing, and that makes your presence quietly powerful. The fifth sign you're a true INFJ is your constant internal conflict. You crave connection, but fear being misunderstood. You want to help others, but also need to protect your peace. You want to be open, but your inner world is sacred. You don't let just anyone in. You carry emotional armor, built from years of being misunderstood, taken for granted, or emotionally drained by those you tried to save. Yet beneath that armor, your heart remains soft. You forgive easily, even when you shouldn't. You still believe in love, goodness, and redemption, even when the world gives you every reason not to. The sixth sign is perfectionism. You hold yourself to impossibly high standards in your work, relationships, and personal growth. When you fail to meet them, you feel deep disappointment, even shame. You constantly measure yourself against an inner ideal that no one else can see. This is because you live guided by vision, an image of how life should be, how you should be, and how the world could be. You see potential everywhere, in people, in ideas, in broken systems. And when reality falls short of that potential, it hurts you in ways others don't understand. The seventh sign is that you do not just feel, you transform. You're not content to observe pain, you want to heal it. You don't just see injustice, you dream of rebuilding the system. You don't just want love, you crave soulful connection that awakens both partners to a higher purpose. Whether you realize it or not, you are a catalyst. People's lives often change after meeting you, sometimes dramatically. You bring clarity, healing, and direction. Your presence alone can be grounding, comforting, even inspiring. But because you give so deeply, you often forget to refill yourself. Burnout, emotional exhaustion, and quiet resentment are common wounds for INFJs who haven't learned to set boundaries. The eighth sign is that creativity flows naturally from your soul. You might write, paint, sing, design, or simply dream in vivid detail. For you, creativity is not just self-expression, it's therapy. It's how you release emotions too complex for words. Your imagination is rich, and you often visualize entire scenes or stories in your mind. You find meaning in metaphors, beauty in silence, and inspiration in solitude. Even when you're not creating outwardly, your mind is always weaving patterns, interpreting life as if it were poetry in motion. The ninth sign is that despite your softness, there's a quiet steel within you. When pushed too far, when someone tries to manipulate, disrespect, or control you, you transform. Your intuition sharpens, your empathy withdraws, and your inner warrior awakens. People mistake your calmness for weakness, but once your boundaries are crossed, your detachment can be devastating. You don't need to raise your voice or fight. You simply disengage completely. And once you're done, you rarely go back. You forgive, but you do not return to chaos. That balance of compassion and firmness is the essence of the INFJ paradox. Deeply loving, yet fiercely independent. The 10th sign is that you live your life guided by conviction. You are not swayed easily by trends, status, or external pressure. You follow your inner compass, even when it leads you away from the crowd. Your moral and emotional integrity are your anchor. You may bend under pressure, but you never break. And even when life throws you into chaos, you always find meaning in the storm. That's your gift, turning pain into wisdom, loneliness into purpose, and silence into strength. The 11th sign that shows you are a true INFJ is your deep, almost spiritual connection to time, not in the clock sense, but in how you perceive moments and memories. For you, the past, present, and future are not separate. You often experience life like overlapping timelines, revisiting moments in your mind, extracting meaning, and connecting them to what's happening now. A simple scent, a line from a song, or a familiar place can awaken entire emotional universes within you. This reflective nature gives you wisdom far beyond your years, but can also trap you in cycles of nostalgia or regret. You don't just remember what happened, you relive how it felt. And that's both a gift and a curse. The 12th sign is that you have a very complex relationship with conflict. You detest confrontation not because you are weak, but because conflict disrupts your emotional harmony. You can sense tension before it becomes visible, and it weighs on you heavily. You prefer peace, but not the superficial kind. You want genuine understanding. When disagreements arise, you don't attack or argue impulsively. You analyze motives, emotions, and unspoken wounds. You try to resolve things at their root, not their surface. And when you can't, it pains you deeply. You might withdraw quietly rather than engage in meaningless arguments, not out of avoidance, but because your soul craves resolution, not chaos. The 13th sign is that you are also someone who experiences purpose as an inner calling, not a career choice. You might work in different fields or wear many roles throughout your life, but beneath all of them lies the same longing to make an authentic impact. You can't stand doing something that feels soulless. Whether you're teaching, writing, designing, leading, or even parenting, your fulfillment depends on whether what you do matters. You need to see transformation. You need to know your actions ripple beyond yourself. You are the kind of person who can be financially comfortable and still feel empty if your work lacks meaning. That's why many INFJs end up in helping professions, creative industries, or causes that involve change, healing, and growth. The 14th sign is that you're constantly evolving internally. You live much of your life inside your mind, observing, analyzing, growing. To outsiders, you may appear calm and stable, but beneath that exterior lies constant movement. You are always refining your thoughts, beliefs, and understanding of the world. You might change your philosophy or perspective over time, but not impulsively. Each shift happens after deep introspection and often spiritual awakening. You reinvent yourself silently, without needing applause or validation. It's a form of internal metamorphosis, quiet, profound, and deeply personal. The 15th sign is that you have an uncanny ability to mirror others. Without realizing it, you adapt your tone, language, and even energy to the person you're with. This is not manipulation, it's empathy in motion. You instinctively become who the other person feels safe with. You do it so naturally that people often feel deeply seen and understood in your presence. Yet this mirroring can also make you lose yourself if you're not careful. You sometimes struggle to distinguish your own emotions from those you've absorbed. After long interactions, you might feel emotionally exhausted without knowing why. It's because you've been carrying pieces of other people's energy within you. The 16th sign is that you have an intense need for authenticity. You can't fake smiles or force conversations that lack depth. Pretending feels like betrayal, not just of others, but of yourself. You sense insincerity in others instantly, and it unsettles you. This sensitivity to authenticity is why shallow relationships or fake social settings feel unbearable. You crave people who are real, flawed but honest, broken but trying. You find beauty in vulnerability because you live there yourself. You want to strip away pretenses and connect soul to soul, not ego to ego. That's why people often feel they can confide in you. Your energy tells them they can be safe being real. The 17th sign of being a true INFJ is your inner idealism, a quiet, burning belief in a better world. You carry visions of how life should be, fairer, kinder, more meaningful. You might not always express it outwardly, but it shapes everything you do. You believe in humanity, even when people disappoint you. You see potential even in those who have lost faith in themselves. This idealism fuels your creativity, your compassion, and sometimes your pain. Because while others move on easily from injustice or cruelty, you carry it with you. Thinking, feeling, trying to understand why the world is this way and how it could change. The 18th sign is that you don't just feel, you translate emotions into understanding. When someone cries, you don't just sympathize, you absorb their sorrow and try to decode its meaning. You reflect on how that pain connects to universal truths about love, loss, and humanity. You turn feelings into insight. That's why your advice often feels profound. It's born not from logic alone, but from lived empathy. Yet this also makes emotional balance difficult for you. You might suppress your own feelings to stay strong for others, only to break down later in private. Your emotional life is rich but demanding, a landscape of empathy that requires careful navigation. The 19th sign is that you are also a master of silence. You can say more through stillness than others say in paragraphs. You know when to speak and when to hold space for someone's pain. You understand that silence can heal, teach, and reveal more than noise. This calm presence draws people in. It makes them feel safe, understood, and valued. But also makes you mysterious. People sense your depth, but can't quite figure you out. You reveal only what feels right, keeping your sacred core protected from those who wouldn't understand it. You are an ocean disguised as a stream, quiet, deep, and endlessly layered. The 20th sign is that you struggle internally with self-expression. Despite your insight, you often feel that words fall short of what you feel inside. You can write or speak beautifully, yet still feel unseen. This frustration comes from the fact that your inner world is too vast for language. You sense things that can't be described, emotions, intuitions, spiritual impressions that defy explanation. You live between worlds, the tangible and the invisible, the logical and the mystical. And sometimes that in-between place feels lonely. Other signs that reveals you're a true INFJ include having a sense of destiny, a quiet conviction that your life has a unique purpose, even if you can't define it yet. You often feel that you were meant for something bigger, not necessarily fame or fortune, but significance. You sense that your existence is part of a larger tapestry, and that your struggles have meaning. This belief sustains you through dark times. Even when life breaks you, you rise. Not because you're unshaken, but because you know your pain has purpose. You transform suffering into growth, confusion into clarity, endings into new beginnings. Another undeniable sign that you are a true INFJ lies in the way you experience solitude. For most people, being alone feels like emptiness, but for you, solitude is sacred. It's where your soul breathes and your intuition becomes sharpest. In silence, your thoughts unfold like poetry, your emotions reorganize themselves, and your sense of purpose renews. You don't seek solitude as an escape from people. You seek it as a return to yourself. Your inner world is not lonely. It's alive, textured, and deeply comforting. When life gets chaotic, you instinctively withdraw to recalibrate, knowing that your clarity only returns in quiet reflection. This profound relationship with solitude is one of the surest markers of an INFJ spirit. Another sign is that you also have a complex relationship with truth. To you, truth is sacred, not just factual accuracy, but emotional and moral authenticity. You can't stand deceit, manipulation, or half-truths. Even white lies sit uneasily with you because you value integrity more than comfort. When you speak, you choose your words carefully, knowing their impact can be deep. You are often the person who dares to voice what others only think, not out of boldness, but out of conviction. Yet, when others twist or reject the truth, it cuts you deeply. You feel betrayed not just personally, but spiritually, because honesty for you is not merely a virtue, it's a way of existing. Another clear sign is your sensitivity to beauty, not in a superficial sense, but in the way you perceive harmony, depth, and symbolism in everything. You might find beauty in an old book, the sound of rain, or the way sunlight filters through leaves. Ordinary people may pass by such moments without a glance, but you pause, breathe, and feel. To you, beauty is a spiritual experience, a glimpse into the divine order of things. That's why you often have a strong appreciation for art, music, literature, and nature. These things are not entertainment for you. They are nourishment. They awaken something sacred in your soul that words can't reach. A true INFJ is also known by their layered emotional resilience. While you feel deeply and empathize easily, you also possess a surprising inner strength. When life throws you into hardship, you don't collapse. You reflect, learn, and emerge transformed. Pain doesn't destroy you. It deepens you. You've probably endured heartbreak, loss, or disappointment that would have hardened others. Yet somehow, you became softer and wiser. Your strength is quiet, like a deep-rooted tree that bends in the storm but never breaks. People often wonder how you maintain your calm in crisis, but they don't realize you've been building emotional endurance your whole life, silently, through introspection and faith. Another profound sign is that you have a unique way of loving. When you love, it's never casual. You love with your entire being, mind, heart, and spirit. You see the best in your partner, even when they can't see it themselves. You nurture, encourage, and often sacrifice without being asked. But because your love runs so deep, betrayal or emotional neglect cuts to your core. You might stay silent when hurt, but the pain lingers long after the event is over. You need emotional honesty and soulful connection in love. Anything less feels hollow. When you finally withdraw from someone, it's rarely out of anger. It's because your spirit can no longer thrive in an environment void of mutual understanding.